Hi, you're watching Teen Kids News. I'm Lila. Let's begin with our top story.
This report is brought to you by BYU TV. Over the years, there have been a growing number of movies and TV shows that portray autistic characters. For example, The Good Doctor, Atypical, and Extraordinary Attorney Woo. But all of these productions used actors who are not themselves autistic. There's now a groundbreaking TV series that's about an autistic teen named Addie. And the actor who plays her, along with some of the other cast members, are also autistic. The series is called A Kind of Spark.
Same school, Addie, just a different building. Lots of kids will be feeling nervous.
Addie is dealing with a cognitive difference.
I think it's okay to be rude because I'm autistic. Because you're autistic? Autistic, not artistic. I can't draw to save my life. So what's that like?
There are people in this village whose ancestors were accused of witchcraft.
What's that?
A diary. No one knows what happened to Margaret Fraser. Perhaps you can solve the mystery.
How Addie and her sisters work together to solve the mystery is as heartwarming as it is eye-opening on so many levels. The 10-part series celebrates the differences that make each of us unique.
We don't have the resources for yet another child with autism.
People always say I can't do things.
Do you really think someone with your condition can handle this?
But I know I can. You can. I'll help.
So let's meet the three main actors.
So I'm Lola Blue and I play Addie. She is 14. She's passionate and detail-oriented and very empathetic.
Hi, I'm George Gidlow, and I play Keedy. Keedy is unafraid of giving the truth, even when people might not like it or even understand it. She's fiercely loving, and empathetic, and she has difficulty putting herself before others, but she is learning how to with the help of her sisters.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Hamilton and I play Nina. She is very concerned with her YouTube brand and she's very popular at school. And she feels slightly left out with the sisters' special bond that they have.
We'll talk about that special bond both in the TV series and in real life in a second. But first, walk us through the basic storyline.
So the storyline follows Addie, who is a young autistic teenager, and we follow her as she goes through different sort of challenges and obstacles, such as starting a new school, and she finds out about this witch memorial, and we basically follow her in the mystery of figuring out what happened to Margaret Fraser. And we see her different relationships with her friends and her sisters developing and going through different stages along the way. And yeah, ultimately it's a show about family, about friends, and about celebrating our differences.
Sounds great. Now, all three of you are neurodivergent. That's a term that many teens may not know. Can you explain what it means?
So neurodivergency is basically when your reality is different to the social norm, when you feel like what you're experiencing is different, whether that be through ADHD or through autism or kind of through anything like dyslexia. And so for us, it's being autistic. And so you can kind of fit into that category on a wide scale, and it affects quite a few people in the world.
It certainly does. And just so we understand all the terms, a person who isn't neurodivergent is
Neurotypical. Essentially, someone who is neurotypical is just someone who is a part of the predominant neurotype of people. It's a lot of words, but essentially, like, everyone has a different brain. You know, everyone thinks differently, everyone feels differently. But there is a prominent neurotype of people, neurotypical people, who this world is made for, you know, who can function in this world a lot easier than other people. So those would be neurotypical people, as opposed to people who aren't of the prominent neurotype. That's what Katie was talking about, which is neurodivergent people.
So for someone who is neurodivergent, what are the everyday challenges that one can face?
For me personally, I would say that I find like shopping centres quite like distracting, quite difficult. Like today I was there and I just needed to pick up a few bits and bobs, but I was finding it quite difficult because they're really bright places. There's lots of artificial lighting, which I struggle with, and it's echoey and there's lots of people and the noise can really throw me. I struggle a lot personally with sound. I think that's the thing that throws me the most. I can't kind of zone out of things. I hear everything, whether it be like the wind kind of rushing past my ear or just like leaves on the floor. And because I can't zone out of certain sounds, it's constantly overwhelming. So it is definitely harder for people that are autistic to live in cities. And also I think just generally masking to kind of seem like you fit into those environments that you struggle with can cause massive burnout, and that's something that I struggle with personally.
Just to add on to that, I think that neurodiversity and autism is a spectrum, and I feel like a lot of representations of autism in the media have been very stereotypical and only show like certain chunks of what autism is, especially very like male perspectives.
I loved what you were saying about the shopping centres, and then what Lola added about it being a spectrum, and what the show is so good at doing is showing all the different variations and different personality traits that can come from being autistic. Like, for example, I love shopping centres, I love supermarkets. The show gives relatable autistic characters in so many different forms that so many different autistic people can relate to in different ways, which is great.
It is great. We'll talk more about the show when Teen Kids News continues. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking about the new TV series, A Kind of Spark. It's about three sisters, two of whom are neurodivergent. The youngest sister, Addie, takes on a mission to find out what happened to a young girl accused of being a witch.
A first-hand account of the witch trial years. Tell me, Miss Darrow, are you the sort of person who looks after books?
Before the break, Caitlin explained that for her, places like shopping malls and city environments can be overwhelming. In this clip, Addie experiences that feeling of being overwhelmed when she attends a new school.
I'll take you to your class. It's okay. I'll just sort of go in like a normal person.
Same school, Addie, just a different building. Lots of kids will be feeling nervous.
Fine, Jenna. She'll look after you.
Lola, as someone who knows what it is to be neurodivergent, how true to real life is that scene?
Well, I think firstly, overstimulation is a very common thing that happens when you're autistic. I think in that scene, we see Addie stepping into a new school for the first time, experiencing all these new faces, sounds, smells, like textures around her, you know, laughing or closing lockers and stuff like that. And it's little things like that that chip away, for me anyway. I think that, yeah, they really contribute to this sense of overstimulation. And I think that it's important to create awareness about this.
It is important because it gives those who are neurotypical a better understanding of what life can be like if you're neurodivergent. So Caitlin, you're playing a particularly noteworthy role. You're also neurodivergent, but your character is neurotypical. How challenging was that?
It was challenging, but in a way that I've kind of always had to act. I think for me, I've done acting since I was 6 years old, and so I was always kind of taught how to do it in a way that was from a neurotypical lens. All the characters that I played were always neurotypical, and there was never any opportunity to even play an autistic character. And I also was undiagnosed for most of my childhood, so that wasn't even something that I knew existed.
She's got it mild, Keats, like you.
It seems mild to you, Nina, because we make it so.
We're not going to be pigeonholed just because we are, playing characters that are outside of our comfort zone.
At the end of the day, A Kind of Spark, it's not about autism. It's about a beautiful story about friendship and sisterhood and the complexities of growing up. It's just through the lens of an autistic girl, which allows for, a different perspective that neurodivergent girls can relate to and that neurotypical people can enjoy because of its originality.
You are so very right. It is a beautiful story. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you very much.
A Kind of Spark achieved an additional milestone. The 3 impressive actors we just met aren't the only ones on the show who are neurodivergent. About 50% of everyone who worked on the program, cast and crew, are neurodivergent. And wouldn't it be great if one day all programs were as inclusive? All 10 episodes of A Kind of Spark are available on BYU TV and free on the BYU TV app. For Teen Kids News, I'm Ava.
We still have a lot more to tell you about. Teen Kids News will be right back. Chocolate. It's one of our favorite treats. In fact, the average American eats more than 11 pounds of chocolate a year. And some of the finest chocolates are produced in Europe.
Belgium may be one of the smallest countries in Europe, but when it comes to chocolate, Belgium is a giant. Wherever you go in Belgium, you'll find stores specializing in chocolate. In fact, there are more than 2,000 of them. Just to put that into perspective, look at it this way. Here in the US, there's one chocolate store per 49,000 people. In Belgium, there's one chocolate store per 6,000 people. That's 8 times more than America. Like I said, the Belgians love their chocolate. It all started with the conquistadors. During their rampage through Mesoamerica, they came across chocolate. They sent ships loaded with gold, silver, and chocolate back to Spain. While the gold and silver went into the royal treasury, the chocolate went into the royal tummies. In the 16th century, the Spanish took over the area that would eventually become Belgium, and they brought chocolate with them. Eventually, the Spanish left, but the love of chocolate remained. Today, Belgium chocolate is considered among the finest in the world. One reason is that it's typically handcrafted, made by small, independent producers. And here's something to tell your parents. Eating chocolate, dark chocolate, is actually good for you. Dark chocolate contains antioxidants. They're good for your heart. They strengthen your immune system, improve your memory, as well as athletic performance. And antioxidants can help reduce stress. Of course, whether it's chocolate from Belgium or from your local candy store, too much of a good thing isn't a good thing. Health experts say you shouldn't eat more than an ounce or 2 a day. That's basically the size of the typical chocolate candy bar. With a very tasty bit of Belgium, I'm Emily. Yum!
No matter who produces the chocolate, there is a dark side. Chocolate is made from giant cacao seeds, and most of the world's cacao comes from West Africa. Thousands of children are forced to work on cacao farms often under abusive conditions and doing dangerous jobs. Many companies, governments, and human rights groups are working to end the exploitation of these children. And while some progress has been made, much more is needed. Teen Kids News will be right back.
Ever hear the saying, money can't buy happiness? Well, that may not be true. Research shows that money can make you happier, at least up to a point. Money not only enables you to meet everyday needs like food, clothing, and other essentials, it allows you to access better healthcare and live in safer places. However, that doesn't mean that billionaires are necessarily happier than millionaires. The experts say that once income reaches around $75,000, you've got your basic needs covered. And while it might be nice to earn more bucks, it wouldn't automatically make you more happy. Hey, if they're ever looking for people to test out whether making lots of money makes you happier, I'm happy to volunteer. For Teen Kids News, I'm Benjamin.
Whoever said that silence is golden wasn't a passenger in a car with an unsafe driver. The National Road Safety Foundation wants you to know that you have a responsibility to speak up.
Want me to read it for you?
Sure.
Your mom says the doctor called. Your dad isn't doing so good.
What? No.
Are you okay? Maybe you should pull over.
I'm fine.
Just be careful. You're beginning to speed. It's a bad idea to be driving when you're so upset. We could crash. Slow down!
I'm sorry. I didn't realize how fast I was going. Thanks for speaking up.
That's what friends are for.
The NRSF produces lots of terrific safety videos each year. To get more info, like, follow, and subscribe to the National Road Safety Foundation. Teen Kids News will be right back. Some people say history repeats itself, but Katie found a place where history goes round and up and down.
It was 1922. World War I was a recent memory. Warren Harding was president. It was the same year the Great Gatsby was living the high life. 1922 is also when this carousel opened for business in the Midwest. So how did it wind up in a park near the famous Brooklyn Bridge? Because a woman named Jane Walentis and her husband wanted to give a gift to the city of New York.
So I looked at a lot of carousels all over the country, and this one was at an auction in Youngstown, Ohio. There was an amusement park that was being sold. There had been a fire at the park which burned their roller coaster, and the firemen saved the carousel, but some of the horses were singed.
That was the beginning of a long labor of love for Jane and her team of artists. So could you describe the work you did on this carousel?
Yes. The first thing I did was I scraped all the paint off it, down to the original paint. And we proceeded to repaint it all to the way it originally was.
The painstaking work of repairing and restoring went on for 25 years.
I was looking at some old footage that I have from the early days, and I thought, oh my God, I was so young when I started.
Jane may have gotten older, but the carousel was looking brand new. When the work was finally finished, the carousel was officially named, what else but Jane's Carousel.
So tell me how the carousel works.
Well, the inside row are the jumper horses, and they go up and down together. You can see these gears. One goes up and the other comes down.
Oh, so when the gear turns, they go up and down.
Up and down,
Oh.
And the outside row are standers. Those are the big horses, and they're just stationary.
So they don't move.
They don't go up and down, no.
And here's something else I learned. The whole platform floats on air.
So true carousel is not in the ground at all. There's not a track. It all hangs off the center pole, which is what makes it a true carousel.
The music is the real deal too. This is the original organ from 1922. It survived that fire in the 1980s, but in 2012 the organ was damaged by Superstorm Sandy. Another round of repairs for Jane and her crew.
Do you want to see behind? I'll
Sure.
show you these instruments. This is the snare drum. And when the organ goes, these beat on the drum.
Wow.
It's quite a piece of equipment.
old organ has a modern twist. The music is controlled by a laptop computer. Why is it that just about everyone loves a carousel?
I think there's a fantasy about it, you know, being here on these horses and riding into the sunset, and the music and the lights and the mirrors. It just creates a very happy environment.
No matter how old you get, going around in circles never seems to lose its appeal. And that's the special magic of a merry-go-round. For Teen Kids News, I'm Katie.
Well, that wraps up our show for this week. But we'll be back with more Teen Kids News next week. See you then.